good as gold. It's just lost. You know, it could have been captured for posterity. Okay, so what do we do with this?
You subtract it from everything.
Good. Okay, because we got a single x there. If I can point to a single x, I can isolate it. I isolate it by the two steps. First, I subtract 2, right? And then what do I do? Good. Okay, so the 2's go away. I get my negative 5x. I get my positive 5 and what, negative 9? Okay, have the inequalities flipped? No. No. Okay, now what? Okay, what does that mean? Flip the signs. Good, I got to flip the inequalities because I divided by a negative. So I know this is going to happen, and that's going to happen. I get an x in the middle, negative 9 over negative 5. What's my sign rule say? Negative over negative is?
Positive.
Positive, so those become positives. I get 9/5 over there. Negative over negative, or positive over negative, sorry. Negative 1. Okay, that's it. But what's the problem with that? Got to do the glass trick. I got to flip this thing around, right? Okay, so when I flip this around, now I talked about doing this with the glass trick. Remember this thing? You can also do it this way. Here's another little trick. You can just read it when the inequalities point the wrong way. You can read it from right to left, but write it from left to right. So if I read it over here, I start off with a negative 1 less than x less than 9/5. That's not how I'd say it, but that's how I would read it. Right? I'd say it, x is greater than negative 1 and less than 9/5. Does that make sense though, how we got that? We're just inverting the whole thing. You gotta have that sound effect too. That helps. Okay. Last one. What about this guy? Okay. How do I know what trade I make? The way the inequality is pointing. Good. So if this is a greater than sign this time,
It's an or.
it's an or. So we know it's going to be one of those, and this is a number 4, right? Because there's no equal sign included. Okay, so what's our rule? Whatever's inside the absolute values, we're going to take out, right? And one inequality we get is negative 6x plus 4 is the same. The first one we do, here's a way to remember it. The first one is just the inequality without the bars. It's just going to be what's inside is greater than 2 in this case. Literally just erase the bars, and that's the first one. Or, whoops, that's right. Or, now I'll write the negative 6x plus 4, and I'm going to flip the sign around and put a negative on it. So it's greater than the positive or less than the negative, right? I just solve them both, okay? So, what are the two steps in order? First I subtract 4, I heard it, negative 6x, so that's going to make that a negative 2. Now what? Okay, divide by negative 6, what's that mean? Flip the sign, so I get x is less than, negative over negative is positive. Reduce this to 1/3, right? Or, over here, same stuff, if I subtract 4, I'm going to get a negative 6 on the other side. Same stuff as before, divide by a negative, so I have to flip the inequality around. The x's cancel. Negative over negative is positive 1, right? And so the other mistake that people make on these, if they made a mistake, they might have done all that stuff, but still made a little mistake here because they didn't pay attention to where they put the answers. Now look in the number 4 form, the A and the B are not random, they're specific. The A is always going to be the left boundary, so A is the number that x is less than. So it's not that one, it's got to be 1/3, right? 1 would be incorrect. So A has to be 1/3. B would have to be the number that x is greater than, so that's 1. And we got it. Make sense? Questions? We good? 205.